everyone, and welcome back. It's time for another deep dive, and this time we're tackling a topic I know you're gonna love: Michael Jordan in the 90s. But we're not just gonna rehash the basics here.
No, we're going deeper.
We're gonna figure out what made Jordan such a phenomenon on and off the court back in the day.
Yeah.
And get this, we're doing it by looking at, get this, an outline for another podcast about Jordan.
Meta, right.
Totally. But it's actually a really cool way to see how his story's being framed. You know, what they chose to emphasize, what they left out.
It's like reverse engineering a narrative. We get to see the blueprint before the building is even built.
Exactly. And one thing that jumped out to me right away is that they start by putting Jordan in the context of what was happening with basketball itself in the late 80s, early 90s. Like, the NBA was becoming this global force.
Which is huge. I mean, imagine if Jordan's career had happened 10 years earlier. Would he have had the same impact? The world was ready for a global basketball superstar, and Jordan was. Well, Jordan.
It's like the perfect storm, right? His talent was undeniable, but it coincided with this explosion of interest in the sport. They fed off each other, you know.
Absolutely. And that connection to something bigger, that's key to understanding his impact beyond the sport, too. You know, like the shoes.
Oh, the Air Jordans.
Everyone knew those shoes.
I still want a pair. I mean, I wasn't even really into basketball like that, but...
Exactly. And then there's Space Jam. I mean, come on. A movie where he's playing basketball with Bugs Bunny.
That was everyone's childhood.
It's fascinating because even if you weren't a diehard fan, you knew those shoes. You knew that movie. He transcended the sport.
He became a brand, a symbol. It's like, what was it about those shoes? Like, putting on those Jordans, it wasn't just about the shoes. It was...
aspirational, almost. Like that logo, it wasn't just a logo, it was a statement. It said something about you, about your style, your confidence, even the way he moved on the court, that grace, that power.
It was like watching a superhero or something. Like, anything felt possible.
He was electric, captivating. Yeah, in this outline we were talking about, you know, it kind of touches on this idea that the 90s were just primed for someone like Jordan, you know?
Like, culturally.
Yeah, like individualism was celebrated, success was everything.
Big dreams, big goals.
Exactly. It all just kind of came together.
It's true. There was this energy back then, like anything is possible. But was it all just timing, you think? Or was there something more?
Well, that's the thing about these kind of narratives, right?
Right.
It's never just one thing.
It's never that simple.
Exactly. I mean, the guy's work ethic was legendary.
Yeah.
Obsessed. Like, he was obsessed with being the best.
That fire in his eyes.
Exactly. But, okay, here's something I think is kind of interesting. The outline we're looking at. It kind of glosses over the maybe not so glamorous side of things.
The downsides of fame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's very much look at this incredible icon. But, like, were there any downsides to that level of fame?
Controversies, maybe.
Right. We tend to do that, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Look back with rose-colored glasses.
Rose-colored glasses for sure. But a deep dive is about the whole picture, right?
Exactly. Good and bad, warts and all.
And speaking of which, there's something else this outline doesn't quite... It mentions Jordan's impact on basketball, taking it global, but it's kind of thought surface level.
It's like they point at the NBA today, you know, with international players becoming superstars, and are like, see, Jordy.
Like, it just happened overnight.
Right, like it's a direct line. But it's way more nuanced than that.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you can't talk about basketball going global without talking about the Dream Team.
Exactly.
Or, like, how much more accessible the game became because of media, technology.
Yeah.
That's a whole other deep dive.
Exactly. And that's what's so cool about this, right? We're not just looking at Michael Jordan. We're looking at how his story bumps up against all these other big stories. The NBA's rise, globalization,
Yeah.
you know, how we consume media.
It's like a domino effect.
Yeah, you can't just isolate him and be like, he did this.
It's all connected. It really is. But even with all that, you know, this outline, it's really about how to tell Jordan's story.
And that's where things get kind of meta in a good way, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, think about it. The outline is about the how. How do you explain this guy? But the power of Jordan, the reason we're still talking about him, is the why.
Why his story still matters.
Exactly.
It's the feeling, right? Like, you see that free throw line dunk and you don't need an expert to tell you it's amazing.
It just hits you.
On some level.
Nostalgia, inspiration,
Mm-hmm.
the sense that anything is possible if you, like, want it bad enough. That outline, it only hints at that feeling.
But that's the good stuff. What about you? What parts of Jordan's story do you think resonate the most, even now?
Ooh. That's a tough one. I mean, on one hand, you have the pure athleticism. Like, The guy seemed to defy gravity at times.
Oh, totally. Those fadeaway jumpers, the way he moved.
Poetry in motion.
Right.
But then there's the work ethic. That refuse to lose mentality.
People love an underdog, right? Even if he wasn't really an underdog.
It was aspirational,
Yeah.
you know? We all kind of want to be that driven, that unstoppable. And then it all came together at this one moment in time, right? The talent, the culture, basketball going global. It's kind of a lot to unpack.
It really is.
But that's the fun of it, right? Digging into these stories, seeing how they connect, why they matter, and sometimes looking at how someone else is trying to tell a story, that's what helps us understand it even better.
Meta, right back to the beginning.
Full circle.
Well, on that note, we'll leave you to ponder all of this. What parts of Jordan's story resonate most with you? What questions does this spark? Hit us up on social media. Let's keep the conversation going. For this episode of The Deep Dive, I'm your host.
And I'm your expert.
Signing off.